When demons spread terror across the land, only one figure stands on the blood-soaked front line, a boy with a chainsaw in hand. From a poor, desperate soul, Denji becomes a nightmare for devils, carving a path of carnage and hope for humanity. Blood, blades, and chaos. This is a war with no room for weakness. But behind all the madness lies the story of a boy who simply wants a normal life. With the simple dream of spending time beside cute girls. Come join Oni and enjoy this anime with me. Our main character is a poor young man named Denji. Since he was a child, he's had to carry a massive debt. That debt was left behind by his deceased father. The total debt amounted to 245,000 United States dollars. Because of that, Denji was forced to sell a kidney, his right eye, and one of his testicles. Even though he sacrificed so much, the amount he owed barely decreased compared to the huge debt. Fortunately, Denji had a companion, a chainsaw devil named Pachita, so the two of them hunted devils together to earn money and pay off the debt. On one mission, they had to take down a tomato devil. After completing the job, Denji was paid 2,700 United States dollars. But after deducting all sorts of fees, interest, and cuts, he was left with only 12 United States dollars. With that tiny amount of money, Denji could barely survive for less than a month. On his way home, Denji even agreed to eat a half-smoked cigarette from the driver, just for 1 United States dollar. That driver worked for Denji's creditor. He was also the one who hired Denji to kill devils. Since Denji got the job done, the guy kept exploiting him. But Denji didn't want to get involved with official devil hunters, because they always took the devil corpses back with them, leaving nothing behind for him to scavenge and make money off. At that time, Denji lived in a rotting abandoned shack. That day, his and Pachita's dinner was just a single slice of white bread. In such circumstances, Denji's biggest dream was simply to have a decent meal and a girlfriend who'd let him touch her boobs every day. A simple dream, but oh, how difficult it was that night. Denji remembered the day his father died. On that day, his father left him a mountain of debt. Even if Denji worked his whole life, he'd never be able to pay it all back. It was also on that very day that Denji met Pachita for the first time. At that time, Pachita was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Denji heard that human blood could heal a devil's wounds, so he let Pachita drink his blood. In return, Denji wanted to make a contract with Pachita. Help me become a devil hunter. Back to the present, Denji starts coughing up blood. Due to years of poor nutrition, Denji has developed several serious illnesses. A while later, Denji and his debt collector went to an abandoned factory because they heard rumors of a devil appearing there. Suddenly, Denji and Pachita were stabbed from behind by a zombie devil. It turned out everything was orchestrated by the debt collector. He had made a contract with the zombie devil to become stronger. But in the end, he also turned into a zombie himself. Truly a foolish action, to the point of being incomprehensible. The zombie devil's goal was to wipe out all devil hunters because they had killed too many of its kind. Denji was cornered by the zombie horde. Then he was repeatedly stabbed and slashed. Denji was chopped into pieces and thrown into a dumpster. The scene looked just like a horror movie about murder and body disposal. Even though he was torn apart, a drop of Denji's blood fell into Pachita's mouth. Pachita woke up and recalled the time spent living with Denji. It also remembered Denji's promise, if one day I die, you can take over my body and live like a human. And so, Pachita agreed. It made a contract to become Denji's heart. The contract had no conditions, they simply wanted to help each other survive. Immediately, Denji's body was fully healed. When he woke up, he noticed a cord had appeared on his chest. All Denji had to do was pull that cord, and he could transform into Chainsaw Devil anytime he wanted. Denji pulled the cord, and quickly transformed into a devil with a human shape, with chainsaws on his head and arms. In a rage, Denji charged in and slaughtered the zombie horde. In the end, he sliced the zombie devil in half. And Denji also finished off the debt collector who had turned into a devil. At that moment, Denji thought, from now on, I'm finally debt-free. After the battle, Denji was discovered by a team of government devil hunters. Leading them was a woman named Makima. As soon as she saw Denji, Makima ran over and hugged him. Denji had lived alone since childhood, so he had never been hugged by a girl before. He froze for 5 seconds before returning to his human form. Makima saw potential in Denji, and she gave him 2 choices. 1. Be killed as a devil. Or 2. Become a loyal dog and follow her every command. If he chose to be a dog, Denji would have 3 meals a day and a stable place to live. Of course, he agreed right away, so they took Denji back to headquarters. Then Makima gave Denji her coat to wear. She said, "I can't let you walk around outside looking like that. People might think you're a beggar." It was the first time someone had been kind to him like that. Denji thought to himself, she's so warm. And yet, she really was genuinely kind. Denji was so touched that he had already fallen in love with her. At that moment, the 2 of them were standing and ordering food. Whether by accident or on purpose, Denji suddenly buried his face right into Makima's chest. While eating, Denji told Makima the reason why he could turn into a devil. He explained the contract between him and Pochita. Pochita had become Denji's heart, and that's why he was still alive. After hearing that, Makima nodded as if she understood everything. She confirmed that Pochita wasn't dead. He was simply living inside Denji's body. After that, Denji got to eat a full meal, something he had dreamed of for a long time. After finishing the meal, Denji asked Makima what kind of men she liked. Unexpectedly, Makima replied that she liked guys like Denji. Hearing that, Denji felt overjoyed, as if he were floating up into the sky. On the way back to headquarters, he kept thinking about it. When they arrived, Denji thought he would be working with Makima from now on. But reality is often far from dreams. Makima handed him over to a man named Aki Hayakawa for training. Denji was surprised and wanted to object. But before Denji could say anything, Aki dragged him outside to start the patrol. Seeing that Denji didn't look very happy, Makima gently told him that if he worked seriously, he would have a chance to work with her in the future. Hearing that, Denji believed her without a doubt. Once outside, Denji asked Aki if Makima had a boyfriend. Aki didn't answer. Instead, he took Denji to a deserted alley. There, Denji was suddenly beaten up badly by Aki. Aki said Denji wasn't cut out for this job. If Denji showed up again tomorrow, he would beat him up again. Aki emphasized, being a devil hunter is a life or death job, not something to play around with. If you're not serious, you'll either kill them, or be killed by them. There's no third option. After saying that, Aki spat on Denji and walked away. But after taking just a few steps, Aki was suddenly kicked straight in the groin by Denji. And one kick wasn't enough. Without hesitation, Denji followed up with a full-force sweeping kick. It knocked Aki out on the spot. Denji laughed with delight. He said, "This is the first time Denji's ever eaten such delicious udon. And the first time he's been treated like a human being. So Denji will definitely become a devil hunter, all because of Makima." When they returned to headquarters, Denji and Aki continued to argue fiercely. Seeing that, Makima immediately decided, from now on, the 2 of them would be a team, and they would have to live together. Aki stood frozen in frustration. He was really pissed off he'd just been kicked in the nuts by this guy. And now he had to live with him. Aki was annoyed. But he had no other choice. No other choice. He had to live with the guy who nearly kicked him into orbit yesterday. The next morning, during breakfast, Denji was gleeful because he got to eat good food. But Aki looked on in disgust. This guy eats like he's never seen food before. When Denji showered, he sang like he was at a concert. When he went to the toilet, he even fell asleep there for hours. Aki could only sigh. No matter how angry he was, there was nothing he could do. A few days later, their first mission began. This mission was to eliminate a fiend hiding in a 2-story house. Aki took the opportunity to explain to Denji, when a human who dies gets possessed by a devil, then that devil will take control of the body and become a fiend. So they're extremely dangerous. When the 2 of them entered the house, they found the fiend eating the corpse of a bird. Aki ordered Denji to use his chainsaw power to eliminate it, but Denji only used an axe and chopped off its head. That made Aki furious. He asked why Denji didn't transform before attacking. Denji replied bluntly, "I didn't want it to die painfully. Chopping like that was more merciful." Hearing that, Aki said nothing more. Instead, he slammed Denji's head against the window and warned, "Fiends are still devils. We don't need to show mercy. We have to kill them immediately." Aki then revealed more. He said he hated devils because his entire family had been killed by one. Denji actually wanted to use his real power too. But what worried him the most was that the blood might get on his stash of adult magazines, which he had hidden on his body. No wonder Denji was heartbroken. Still, Denji realized something. Now I get 3 meals a day. I have a place to live and someone to talk to. He even got to be near a beautiful girl like Makima. But still, he felt like something was missing. After thinking for a moment, he suddenly remembered Makima's 2 melons. That's right. That became his next goal. A dream that was undeniably perverted. The next day, Makima introduced Denji to a new partner. The first thing this girl said was, "Lowly humans kneel before your lady." Her name was Power, a blood devil. She was the new teammate Makima had assigned to Denji's unit. At first, Denji refused, because she was totally crazy, literally. Batshit crazy. But when he saw her 2 melons, the exact goal he was chasing after, Denji immediately agreed without saying another word. Makima also warned him that Denji's team was only a trial unit. If they didn't work well together, both Denji and Power would be cleaned up. After that, Denji and Power went on patrol around the assigned area. Suddenly, Power smelled blood. She immediately jumped off the building. Without hesitation, she pulled out a hammer made from her own blood and smashed the devil's head, exploding it like a watermelon. Power shouted loudly, "Feast your eyes on the true power of yours truly." Denji stood nearby, watching in fear. Being teammates with this girl might get him killed someday. When Makima found out that Power had acted on her own, she hesitated a little. She wondered whether Power should even be allowed to be a devil hunter. Because the rule of the Public Safety Bureau was clear. You're only allowed to kill devils if they pose a real threat to humans. But Power didn't care about such rules at all. Still, Makima only gave her a warning, not a punishment, yet. Makima coldly said, "If you continue to act on your own, I won't allow you to be a devil hunter anymore." Hearing that, Power immediately pointed at Denji and blamed everything on him. She claimed that Denji was the one who told her to do it. But Denji hadn't done anything at all, and just like that, the two of them started a heated argument. They went back and forth, shouting loudly across the office. That afternoon, while Power was out buying a drink, she happened to spot a cat. And that sight suddenly reminded her of Meowie, her closest companion, a cat she had once shared a deep bond with. But now, Meowie had been taken away by a devil. At that moment, Denji was drinking water. Power came over and sat beside him. He said something that caught her attention. "I'll do anything, as long as I get to touch boobs." Upon hearing that, a spark lit up in Power's mind. She proposed a deal. "If you help me rescue Meowie from that devil, I'll let you touch my boobs." The moment Denji heard that, his eyes lit up like fireworks. All the blood in his body rushed to one place. Without a second thought, he nodded eagerly, even if it meant fighting and bleeding against a devil. Denji was all in. Meanwhile, Makima was on her way back from a high-level council meeting. In the car, Aki asked her why she had recruited Denji into the squad. From Aki's perspective, Denji had no future, just a brainless kid. Makima simply smiled and replied, "He's interesting. And I believe you'll bring something special." Back with Denji and Power, the two of them finally arrived at the place where the devil was holding Meowie. On the way there, Denji started to get suspicious. He asked Power, "If you just show up out of nowhere like this, what if the devil uses Meowie as a hostage?" But Power didn't answer. Just then, she suddenly turned around. Then, she hit Denji with a powerful blow. It knocked him unconscious on the spot. After that, she dragged Denji into the Bat Devil's lair like an offering. Meanwhile, the Bat Devil, a massive, grotesque creature with wings and a gaping mouth, quickly grabbed Denji and squeezed him tightly. It was getting ready to suck his blood. Although Denji is the Chainsaw Devil, his blood still smells human. To the Bat Devil, that's filthy and repulsive. Even so, it drank his blood anyway, because that blood could help heal its wounds. It wanted to regain its strength, so it could fly into the city and massacre humans. And Denji all this just because he dreamed of touching a pair of boobs. Kind of pitiful, but who told him to dream so recklessly? Power stood nearby, thinking the Bat Devil would keep its promise to release Meowie if she offered a human sacrifice. But no, it swallowed Meowie whole. Power was stunned. She remembered all the lonely days she had wandered alone. Back then, Meowie was her only friend. Those memories came crashing back like a tidal wave. Seeing Power frozen in place, the Bat Devil quickly grabbed her and swallowed her too. Then it spread its wings and flew toward the city to hunt more humans. But suddenly, Denji clung desperately to the Bat Devil's leg. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "Give me back my boobs." Yep. Only Denji would risk his life for boobs. The Bat Devil went berserk. It hurled Denji straight down to the ground. But just in time, he transformed. In an instant, Denji became the Chainsaw Devil. He charged upward and slashed off one of the devil's wings. Both of them crashed to the ground. Before the Bat Devil could recover, Denji chased after it, slashing wildly. It thrashed and fought back by throwing the car at him. There was a terrified man still inside the vehicle. But Denji didn't care. He thought the guy looked kind of ugly. So Denji tossed the car right back, like returning a defective product. It looked like the devil had been seriously wounded. But then it let out a thunderous scream. A massive sound wave blasted Denji into a wall. He fell to the ground, motionless. The Bat Devil thought Denji was dead. It reached for another human to eat. But no, Denji was still alive from the rubble. He slowly stepped out. "Give me the boobs back," and then, slash, slash, slash with just a few strikes. The Bat Devil was shredded into pieces. Denji successfully rescued both Power and Meowie. When Power regained consciousness, she was completely confused. She asked, "Why did you save me? And Meowie too, I betrayed you." "Didn't I?" Denji didn't answer. He silently pointed at Power's chest and made a squeezing motion. Realizing his meaning, Power nodded. "Fine, a deal is a deal." Denji lit up with excitement. He shouted with joy. But just as he was about to reach out, slash, his arm was suddenly cut clean off. The one who appeared was the Leech Devil. A grotesque and horrifying creature. It turned out she had come to avenge her lover, the Bat Devil, whom Denji had just killed. Denji tried to transform again, but his blood had run dry. He couldn't summon his powers anymore. Even so, he still charged forward, for one reason only: to finally touch a boob. So Denji threw himself at the Leech Devil, and got skewered like a human kebab on the battlefield. But just then, Aki appeared. He summoned the Fox Devil. Suddenly, a giant head erupted from underground. The Fox Devil chomped down and sliced off the Leech Devil's head in an instant. Right then, the backup team arrived just in time. Each member was assigned a role: evacuating civilians and securing the area. A new member, a woman named Himeno, was assigned to stay behind for support. Upon first meeting, she simply smiled. Her eyes narrowed into slits, as if none of this was a big deal. As for Denji and Power, both had to mentally prepare for a flood of questions from Aki. After the fight, Aki brought Denji to the hospital for treatment. By then, Denji had regained consciousness. Aki had even picked up Denji's severed arm. It reattached itself automatically once blood was transfused. At that moment, Denji was curious. He asked about the devil Aki summoned, the one shaped like a giant fox head. Aki explained that devil hunters form contracts with devils who have special abilities in order to gain power. However, to use that power, they had to pay a steep price. Aki revealed that this time, he had to sacrifice a part of his own body to summon that power. Then, Aki confronted Denji about why he insisted on protecting Power. Earlier, Aki had checked surveillance footage. He discovered both Denji and Power had left their assigned positions. When he arrived on the scene, he found Denji's blood smeared across the ground. Using his skills as a devil hunter, Aki concluded that Power had betrayed Denji. But Denji honestly didn't know why he saved her. The truth, he just really wanted to touch Power's boobs. So Denji risked his life to save her. If Power hadn't deliberately lured them in, this whole thing definitely wouldn't have happened. In the end, Aki decided to let it go, because Denji managed to save a few people, and he defeated the Bat Devil. However, Aki set a condition: from now on, Denji must follow his orders. Denji agreed, because he wanted to keep living and chase his grand dream. The next morning, as he opened the door, Denji was surprised to see Power standing in front of him. From now on, she would be living with Denji and Aki, as arranged by Makima. But Power was extremely messy and unhygienic. She used the toilet and only flushed occasionally. and she barely ever took a bath. No matter how pretty she was, being that dirty was just unbearable. That night, Denji quietly cleaned up the disaster Power left behind. Suddenly, Power appeared, making Denji think she came to apologize. But no, Power pointed to her chest and mimicked a squeezing gesture. She said she came to fulfill her promise to Denji. However, Power only allowed Denji to squeeze 3 times. Even though it was just 3 times, Denji felt it was more than enough. He lunged forward and squeezed enthusiastically. His face lit up like a child with a new toy. But unexpectedly, something fell out of Power's chest. Turns out, she had stuffed her bra to make her breasts look bigger. The truth froze Denji in place. Even though he finished the remaining 2 squeezes, he didn't feel a thing. From that day on, Denji lived like a soulless shell. But Denji's heart had been seriously wounded. It was truly his first emotional shock in life. A few days later, Makima gave Denji a pile of documents to stamp. Makima sensed that something was off about Denji. She asked him gently, and Denji didn't hide anything. He told her everything. He said that his first time didn't feel like anything at all. After hearing that, Makima softly held Denji's hand. She spoke sweetly, leaving Denji completely frozen. Then, Makima even let Denji touch her chest. Denji was startled like he'd been electrocuted. Makima leaned in as if she were about to kiss him. But in truth, she just wanted Denji to take on a mission. Makima asked Denji to find and eliminate a devil known as the Gun Devil. It had first appeared in America 13 years ago. Its current whereabouts were unknown. Although many devil hunters wanted to destroy it, none had succeeded so far, because it was far too powerful. However, Makima believed that Denji could do it. She thought Denji was more special than any other devil hunter. If Denji could defeat the Gun Devil, Makima promised to grant him one wish. She said she would do anything Denji asked for. 13 years ago was a horrifying time for the entire world. Fear of guns spread everywhere. Guns were used widely. The media constantly sensationalized gun-related incidents. Human fear grew stronger day by day. As a result, the Gun Devil also became more powerful. On the very first day it appeared, Aki's younger brother and his entire family were killed. A vast area was wiped out in an instant. To suppress the Gun Devil's power, many countries began to control information and restrict gun usage. Right now, fragments of the Gun Devil are still scattered around. If other devils consume them, their power will increase significantly. The mission of Denji and the team is to collect as many bullet fragments as possible. Once enough are gathered, they can pinpoint the Gun Devil's exact location. The group received intel that a devil was hiding inside a hotel. It was highly likely that the devil possessed a piece of the Gun Devil. Aki brought along a broken bullet fragment to use as a tracking device. That fragment emitted a strong pull when they got close to the devil. This proved the devil had swallowed a large bullet piece. Denji, unfazed, was like, "Yeah, so what?" Meanwhile, Power kept insisting she should handle it. Aki turned to scold them. "Where did your honorifics go?" Denji and Power casually replied, "Why should we use them?" Seeing this, Arai, a new member of the team, seemed annoyed by the presence of 2 devil hybrids in the group. But Aki reassured him, Denji and Power are just frontline fighters. If they ever betray or try to run, he'll deal with them personally. Hearing that, Denji and Power immediately badmouthed Aki behind his back. It made Aki really mad. But there was nothing he could do about it. At that moment, Himeno spoke up. She said that whoever killed the devil inside the hotel would receive a kiss on the cheek from her. Denji, upon hearing that, didn't seem interested. He said he didn't care about that kiss, because Denji was trying to collect bullet fragments to kill the Gun Devil. And he would get a kiss from Makima. Hearing that made Himeno even more intrigued. She offered that if Denji killed the devil, she would reward him with a French kiss. Upon hearing that, Denji did a complete 360. He flipped faster than a pancake, and immediately charged ahead to find and kill the devil. Arai, who secretly had a crush on Himeno, was furious. He didn't expect some punk to swoop in and steal the chance. While the group was still arguing, a devil's head suddenly appeared and lunged at them. Luckily, Himeno used a mysterious power to stop it. Taking the opportunity, Power rushed in and sliced the devil's head in half. However, that devil wasn't the one they were looking for. Himeno then explained how she could restrain the devil like that. It turned out she had made a contract with the ghost devil. And in exchange for that power, she sacrificed one of her eyes. Power didn't believe it. She threatened to kill Kobeni right on the spot. But at that moment, a devil's arm suddenly appeared and grabbed Power, rendering her completely helpless. After that, the group continued exploring the hotel. But they sensed that something wasn't right. No matter how far they walked, they couldn't escape the 8th floor. They were trapped in an endless loop. Every window led to another room instead of an exit. The elevator wasn't working. Even trying to break through the ceiling wouldn't let them escape. At the moment, the gun devil's bullet fragment wasn't reacting at all. It seemed they had fallen into a devil's trap. Kobeni began to panic. She was terrified that the whole group would die from hunger and thirst in there. Overwhelmed with fear, she burst into tears. Power, instead of comforting her, laughed out loud, holding her stomach with joy. Himeno had to step in and console Kobeni. Meanwhile, Denji looked completely relaxed, saying he could sleep as long as he wanted. He lay down and napped like nothing was wrong. After a while, Himeno woke Denji up and briefed him on the situation. Aki was tirelessly searching for the devil, never taking a break. Kobeni had gone completely mad. She almost drank toilet water. So Himeno had to knock her out. Arai locked himself in a room out of fear. And what about Power? Power just lay around daydreaming about winning the Nobel Prize and becoming the future Prime Minister. She said the first thing she'd do as Prime Minister was raise taxes to 100%. Himeno could only sigh. To ease the stress, Himeno pulled out her last cigarette and smoked it. She felt more at ease knowing Aki was there fighting alongside her. Seeing that scene, Denji thought of Aki. He knew it was Himeno who had dragged Aki into this smoking habit. Himeno also recalled the past, when they had just started working together. Aki had only one goal, to kill the gun devil. He didn't care about making friends or smoking. But after everything that happened and Himeno's influence, Aki eventually gave in. Even the cigarette Himeno was smoking, Aki asked for one and smoked it like he was addicted. Then Aki delivered some bad news. The devil Power slashed earlier had now grown significantly. The group ran out and saw it lying there like a massive lump of flesh. The devil said if they handed over Denji for it to eat, it would let everyone else go free. Kobeni immediately went insane. She grabbed a knife and charged at Denji to kill him. Thankfully, Aki and Himeno stepped in just in time and knocked her out. Out of fear, Arai also yelled that they should sacrifice Denji. Truly a golden teammate who only cared about saving himself. Aki tried to summon the fox devil to fight, but since they were in a sealed space, he couldn't use his contract. Himeno then used the ghost hand to attack the devil, but it was useless. The devil just kept growing larger. Turns out, that wasn't even its real body, but the devil's heart was actually hidden somewhere else. So the only way to escape the hotel now was to accept its offer. Denji began to question. What if the devil eats me and then doesn't keep its word? What happens then? Himeno explained. Once a devil declares a contract, it's bound to keep its promise. If either side breaks the deal, they die instantly. That meant if they killed Denji and gave his body to the devil, the rest of the group could be released. But Aki and Himeno refused the deal. Because if the devil insisted on killing Denji that much, it must be hiding some kind of benefit. As for Power, she had no objections at all. She immediately voted to kill Denji so everyone else could escape. Denji looked around at his team, utterly disheartened. Out of 6 people, 3 already wanted to kill him to save themselves. With teammates like this, no wonder he felt doomed. But still, they were devil hunters, so there was no room for bargaining with knives and threats. In the end, Aki, Himeno, and Denji just sat there in the hallway, feeling helpless, because they hadn't found a solution. Meanwhile, back in the room, Power had already eaten all the remaining food. Arai was furious. He immediately raised his voice to confront Power. Without even blinking, Power blamed Denji right away. That only made the situation even more tense. At the height of the tension, Kobeni suddenly snapped. Crying and screaming, she charged forward with a knife, accusing Power and Arai of being traitors. Both of them screamed back in panic, and chaos broke loose. Their growing fear only made the devil stronger. It began to attack Denji. Aki and Himeno had to grab him and run for their lives. The devil used its power to tilt the floors, forcing the entire group to slide down into its lair. There, it once again demanded they kill Denji if they wanted to go free. Faced with the dire situation, Aki made a decision. He reached for the sword strapped to his back. But Himeno used her power to stop him. She knew all too well, if Aki used that sword, they might escape, but his life would be in grave danger. Then, out of nowhere, Arai lunged forward and pinned Denji down. Kobeni, having lost all control, came at him and stabbed with a knife. But in a shocking moment, Aki threw himself in front of Denji, taking the stab wound instead. He was badly hurt. Denji was completely stunned. Denji immediately told Power to use her blood to stop Aki's bleeding. Himeno started to panic too. Meanwhile, Kobeni kept losing it more and more. She screamed that she would kill Denji no matter what. Denji felt completely helpless. With no other choice left, he decided to risk everything. Just before jumping into the fight, Denji turned to Aki and said, "If we make it out alive this time, then we're even. Neither of us owes the other anything." With that, Denji jumped down. He transformed into Chainsaw Man and charged at the giant devil. The devil was thrilled, thinking its victory was within reach. But Denji couldn't keep his chainsaw form for long. He was constantly getting hurt and losing blood. As his blood ran dry, the chainsaws began to retract, making it impossible for him to fight. In that desperate moment, Denji came up with a crazy idea. "If you want to eat me, then I'll eat you first," to everyone's shock. Denji bit into the devil and drank its blood. His body started to recover. The chainsaws revved back to life. Now Denji felt completely fired up, because this bloody loop of tearing and healing could go on forever. Eventually, the devil would run out of energy and lose. Denji kept slashing non-stop for 3 days and 3 nights. Meanwhile, the rest of the group upstairs were starving to the brink of death. Fortunately, Denji finally found the devil's real heart. He immediately used his chainsaw to finish it off. At last, the entire group escaped the hotel after days of madness and screaming. Not only that, they also retrieved another bullet fragment from the gun devil. But it wasn't too surprising when Denji collapsed after just a few steps. He had fought for 3 straight days, no food, no sleep. If he were just a normal person, he would have been dead long ago. Kobeni and Arai could only apologize for abandoning Denji. They admitted they were selfish, only thinking of their own survival. Meanwhile, Denji was the one who saved them all. To rebuild their team spirit, Himeno decided to throw a party. She also started getting curious about Denji. Why did the devils know about him and why was Makima so interested in him? Himeno suspected that Makima might know something the rest of the team had no clue about. At the party, Division 4 and Division 2 gathered together. Power immediately fought for food, yelling, "No one's taking my food." Denji, on the other hand, was totally lost. The menu was all in Chinese, which left Denji completely confused. Then, he suddenly remembered, Himeno had promised, "If you kill the devil, I'll give you a French kiss." By now, Himeno was completely drunk, but she kept her promise. She turned to Denji and said, "Forget the part where everyone wanted to kill you. In return, I'll kiss you." Denji nodded instantly. "That stuff? Yeah, let's just forget it." Right at that moment, Makima arrived. She overheard and asked, "Kiss who?" Denji panicked. "Kiss? No one. No one at all." Himeno chimed in. "What? You don't want to kiss me anymore?" Denji gave a nervous laugh. Of course he wanted to, but now he was stuck between 2 women. He had no idea whether to go forward or back, so he quickly changed the subject to devil hunting. Aki spoke up too, wondering why all the devils carrying gun devil fragments knew about Denji and were actively targeting him. Aki realized that Makima seemed to know something. Makima simply replied, if Aki could beat her in a drinking contest, then she would reveal it. Aki agreed to give it a try, but he didn't expect Makima to have such incredible alcohol tolerance. So the secret remained a secret. After that, Himeno turned to fulfill her promise to Denji. She gave him a French kiss. It was Denji's first time experiencing something like that. He was overjoyed. But suddenly, because Himeno was too drunk, she threw up directly into his mouth. The scene was horrifying, but Denji still swallowed everything, because he had a habit of never wasting anything with nutritional value. So, that happened. Denji swallowed all of it down into his stomach. Oh my god. At that moment, Denji suddenly remembered eating bread with Pachita. Back then, he saw a group of rats eating someone else's vomit. He once said, "Unbelievable? There are things that eat that." Denji felt ashamed on behalf of the rats. But now, he ended up slapping himself in the face. Denji threw up violently in the bathroom. After the party, Makima wondered where Denji had gone. But she had no idea. Himeno had taken him home. At this point, Denji slowly regained consciousness. He was still bitter about the kissing incident. However, he kept mumbling, "Water. Water." Himeno gave Denji some water, mouth to mouth. Denji couldn't move or escape. Because his body was too drunk. Himeno told Denji not to expect anything from that Makima girl. Because Aki was just like him. Why did both of them like her? Anyway, then Himeno suddenly made a suggestion. "Denji, wanna fool around with me for one night?" As the mood started heating up. Denji suddenly remembered Makima. He saw the candy she had once given him. That candy felt like an indirect kiss from Makima. So Denji made up his mind. My first time has to be with Makima. But first, he had to find and defeat the gun devil. The next morning, since she had drunk too much the night before, Himeno didn't remember anything. She asked, "Did you touch or do anything to my body, kid?" The guy responded right away. "What the hell? Lady, I've already decided to save that for Makima." Denji really liked Makima, even though her personality was kind of cold and manipulative. Then Himeno suggested forming a secret alliance. She would help Denji get closer to Makima, and Denji would help her get closer to Aki. Denji curiously asked why. "What do you even like about a guy like Aki?" Himeno answered. "Of course, it's because of his looks and personality." Hearing that, Denji agreed. He and Himeno officially formed the Love Intel Alliance. Meanwhile, Makima and her subordinates were on their way to Kyoto. They were preparing to meet with high-ranking officials. Suddenly, a group of unidentified individuals launched an attack. At the same time, Makima was assassinated. Simultaneously, members of Divisions 1, 2, 3, and even Division 4 were also targeted. All of them were gunned down by an armed group. During that moment, Denji's group was having breakfast. A strange man suddenly appeared. He began rambling about the greatness of his boss. But no one expected. He was actually Denji's former debt collector. The same man Denji had killed after he turned into a zombie. Suddenly, the man pulled out a gun. The group had no time to react. Denji was shot in the head and passed out immediately. Aki and Himeno were also not spared. Fortunately, Power reacted quickly. She punched the man and gave a signal to Aki. Understanding her cue, Aki summoned the Fox Devil. The Fox Devil attempted to devour the enemy. However, something fell off to the Fox Devil. It asked Aki, "What did you feed me?" Before Aki could answer, a sword pierced through the Fox Devil. It turned out the enemy was a Sword Devil hybrid. Realizing the extreme danger of the situation, Aki had no choice but to use the cursed sword. He had made a contract with a cursed devil. If he stabbed the target 3 times, the curse would activate. Aki then rushed into battle with the Sword Devil. He successfully landed 3 strikes. The curse immediately took effect. A massive demonic hand appeared. It crushed the Sword Devil's body completely. Just when it seemed like the Sword Devil had been defeated, suddenly, a girl named Akane appeared. She walked up to the Sword Devil's body and healed him. Then, she ordered him to eliminate Aki. Before Aki could react, he was slashed and collapsed on the spot. Akane continued giving orders. "Kill everyone here. Bring the Chainsaw Devil's heart to the Gun Devil." At that moment, Himeno regained consciousness. She decided to form her final contract with the Ghost Devil. Himeno was willing to sacrifice her entire life and body to save everyone. The Ghost Devil accepted her offer. It appeared in its full form. Immediately, it charged at the Sword Devil. However, each time Himeno used its power, a part of her body would disappear. With the Ghost Devil's full power, it nearly managed to destroy the Sword Devil. But the Sword Devil called out to Akane for help. Akane instantly summoned the Snake Devil. The Snake Devil devoured the Ghost Devil whole. Before disappearing completely, Himeno wished for Aki to survive and escape this place. With her last remaining strength, Himeno controlled the Ghost Devil's arm to pull the cord on Denji's chest. Denji immediately woke up. At that moment, Denji had no idea what was going on. But he knew one thing clearly. The ones in front of him were the culprits behind everything. And he absolutely loved fighting people like that. Denji charged in and launched a fierce attack. However, due to his lack of combat experience, on top of that, the enemy had comrades assisting him. Denji quickly found himself at a disadvantage. Seeing the situation, he rushed forward and took down 2 of the henchmen. However, Denji didn't kill them, because they were still human. After that, Denji grabbed one of them to use as a hostage against the Sword Devil. But suddenly, both Denji and the henchmen were sliced in half. Meanwhile, things weren't any better in the other divisions. Everyone had been slaughtered. Back on the train where Makima had been assassinated, the assassins were preparing to flee. But unfortunately for them, Makima, somehow, was still alive. At the Kyoto Forest Station, the train carrying Makima came to a stop. Makima stepped off with a calm expression. She told the 2 people accompanying her that there had been a shooting. She asked them to board the train and clean up the scene. When the 2 entered, they found 4 corpses. All of them had already been dealt with by Makima. Each body had a giant hole punched through it. At this point, Makima realized the enemy's true target was Denji. She then gave instructions to the 2 agents from Division 1. One of them was to capture 30 convicts and bring them to her. The other was to secure and isolate a shrine at the highest elevation possible. Meanwhile, the Sword Devil's henchmen were about to load Denji into a car. Suddenly, one of the men exploded on the spot. Right after that, another one blew up as well. At that moment, Akane realized she had crossed paths with something terrifying. She quickly chose to retreat. Back on Makima's side, the criminals had been gathered. Makima used them as sacrifices for the devil she had a contract with. As long as Makima spoke the name, the target would instantly drop dead. However, the sacrifice would also lose their life in the process. With only a few fan-like hand movements, the people whose names Makima called began exploding one by one. Makima's terrifying power left both Akane and the Sword Devil horrified. Just then, Kobeni appeared. Earlier, Arai had taken a bullet for her, which was the only reason Kobeni had survived. She came here to avenge Arai. Seeing this, Akane immediately summoned the Snake Devil to attack Kobeni. Although Kobeni usually struggles with anxiety and panic, her physical reflexes were incredibly sharp. She dodged every attack with ease and closed the distance. With a single strike, she severed the Sword Devil's arm. Akane was forced to abandon Denji in order to rescue the Sword Devil and escape. After this incident, many of the survivors chose to resign. Even the 2 agents from Division 1 didn't want to be on Makima's team. That left Makima with a hint of disappointment. As for Aki, he was lucky to be saved in time. And Denji, no matter how badly injured, as long as he had blood, he could recover. Power, on the other hand, hadn't done anything. While everyone was fighting for their lives, no one knew where this devil had been hiding. When both Aki and Denji regained consciousness, Power and Denji decided to head out. Wanting to give Aki some space, Aki stayed behind, pulled out his sword, and summoned the Cursed Devil to ask, "How much longer do I have to live?" The Cursed Devil replied, "You have about 2 more years." Aki burst into tears as he remembered Himeno. He felt completely useless, because he couldn't do anything to save her. Coincidentally, Denji also overheard Aki crying. But Denji couldn't understand that feeling. After all, he was also Himeno's comrade. Yet now he couldn't cry. Nor did he feel heartbroken. Maybe, ever since he became a devil hybrid, he had lost those kinds of emotions. Just then, the 2 agents from Division 1 came to see Aki. They told him that, at Makima's request, special training would be conducted for the surviving members of Division 4. As for Denji and Power, Makima brought them to a graveyard to meet a man named Kishibe. Starting today, Kishibe would be their trainer. Then, Kishibe gave them a very heartfelt hug, so strong it broke both their necks. But it was fine, since they were devils. They just needed to drink blood to recover. Being one of the strongest devil hunters, Kishibe declared he would hunt them until they became strong enough to defeat him. Denji and Power thought it sounded easy, so they immediately charged at him. But before they could land a hit, Kishibe had already stabbed Denji and slashed Power's throat wide open. Kishibe then proclaimed, "Starting today, I'm gonna turn you 2 into top-class devil hunters." After that, The old man beat the crap out of both of them. By evening, Denji was lying flat on the ground. He tried to cry but couldn't. Power looked at Denji and suddenly thought of her go-to, fixing electronics, trick, and decided to try it on Denji. Then, the two of them came up with a plan to take down the old man. However, with their not-so-brilliant brains, there was no telling if the plan would actually work. The next morning, the assassinate the old man operation officially began. Kishibe had already arrived. They'd heard that people with glasses are usually dangerous. So both of them decided to wear glasses for extra power. But even after putting on 10 pairs, it was still useless. The battle began with Power launching a blood spear straight at Kishibe's head. However, he dodged it with ease. Then came 5 or 6 more blood spears. Taking the chance, Denji charged in with an axe in hand. But the result was, he took a loving kick right to the face. Afterward, Kishibe explained the reason why both of their attacks failed. Power had used too much blood and was exhausted. Denji was too slow, making it easy for Kishibe to defeat both of them. Meanwhile, Aki was taken by the 2 Division 1 agents to meet a devil. They wanted Aki to form a contract with this devil. Upon seeing Aki, the devil showed great interest. It agreed to form a contract, but only if Aki let it see his future first. To do that, Aki had to stick his head inside its belly. After seeing Aki's future, the devil was incredibly excited. It said that if it could live inside Aki's eye, it would give him a glimpse a few seconds into the future. The reason? It was dying to witness Aki's gruesome death. A death so horrific that words couldn't describe it. Aki accepted the offer. The only thing he cared about was killing the gun devil with his own hands. As for Denji and Power, the two had improved a lot since the beginning. So Kishibe decided that they wouldn't need any more training starting tomorrow. Instead, they'd be heading into a real battle. Tomorrow, all of Division 4 would join the operation to take down Katana Man and Akane, the ones responsible for Himeno's death. However, if they failed, Division 4 would be disbanded. That evening, Makima came to thank Kishibe for training Denji and Power. But Kishibe looked tired and a little bitter. He said, "Just when someone I train gets a bit stronger, they're sent off to die." He also warned Makima, "If you ever harm anyone I'm protecting, whether you're friend or foe, you'll become my enemy." Makima simply smiled, a smile so chilling it sent shivers down the spine. Meanwhile, Katana Man and his crew were in complete panic. Because as long as Makima was alive, they felt there was no place left in Japan that was truly safe. To deal with Makima and Division 4, Akane had a plan. She intended to use the gift left behind by the Katana Devil's grandfather, who was also a loan shark, a horde of zombies. Meanwhile, Makima went to meet with the Mafia gang. She came to gather more information about the Katana Devil. The Yakuza boss revealed that his men had been lured by Akane into making contracts with the Gun Devil. Each person only needed to pay $130 to receive a gun and bullets. Makima demanded that he write down a full list of everyone involved. But the Yakuza boss refused, fearing that a war would break out within their organization. Makima didn't say much. She handed him a bag of chestnuts. When he opened it, he was speechless. Inside the bag were the eyeballs of the people dear to everyone in the room. One man tried to attack Makima, but with just a single glance from her, he started bleeding from his nose and died on the spot. Makima's power was greater than that of any legendary demon. At the same time, Division 4 arrived at the hideout of the Katana Devil and Akane. The battle began. Kishibe had prepared many new members for Division 4. First was the Shark Fiend, who had the ability to swim through walls. Next was the Violence Fiend, a guy wearing a Plague Doctor-style mask. Then came the Spider Devil, who had many legs, allowing it to move freely across all terrains. There was also the Angel Devil, who could shorten a person's lifespan with just a single touch. The last one was Aki. Aki decided to go inside alone. He quickly encountered Akane, but this time, she didn't use the Snake Devil to attack him. Instead, she summoned the Ghost Devil. That was the devil Himeno once made a contract with before she died. She wanted to use it to mess with Aki psychologically. The Ghost Devil attacked Aki fiercely. Even though he could see a part of the future, Aki was still captured, on the verge of death. Aki remembered the time he worked as Himeno's partner. Now, Most of the memories are about the times Himeno tempted him to smoke. Himeno once said, if Aki ever wanted to forget the pain, she would give him a cigarette. Aki suddenly came to and saw that the ghost devil had released him. It handed him a cigarette, the one Himeno had promised. Aki gently walked up to the ghost devil. It didn't attack. According to Himeno, the ghost devil had no eyes, and it only attacked when it sensed fear. Aki climbed on it and delivered the final slash. Akane tried to summon the snake devil, but Kobeni suddenly appeared and held a knife to Akane. Aki was surprised to see that Kobeni hadn't quit. She said she needed money. She heard there would be a bonus soon, so she came back to hunt devils. Meanwhile, Denji and Power were taking the elevator up to where the Katana Man was. Denji turned and saw Power eating the arm of a zombie. He was horrified, unable to believe Power could eat that. But Power said meat is meat, no matter what kind. When the elevator opened, a horde of zombies appeared. Denji told Power to stay quiet so they wouldn't be noticed. Just as he finished speaking, Power shouted and charged into battle. Power said, Denji, support your big sis. Let's kill them all. Denji could only sigh and let Power do whatever she wanted. Then he continued on alone. When he reached the upper floor, Denji encountered the Katana Man. Before fighting, the Katana Man wanted to ask a few questions. He said he did everything for revenge, for his grandfather, the same Yakuza boss Denji had killed. He asked Denji to let him kill him, and then everything would be over. Denji replied with only one word, never. The battle between the katana and the chainsaw officially began. They both crashed down onto a moving train car. The fight became brutal and intense. Trying to protect a woman, Denji had one of his arms sliced off. Now he looked like a one-armed swordsman in chainsaw devil form. Then he had his other arm cut off as well. Denji risked it all in one final attack. He launched himself straight at the Katana Man. The chainsaw on his head shattered into pieces. The Katana Man thought he had won and laughed loudly. But suddenly, his body was split in two. Denji had used his final move, my legs suck, but my will doesn't. After capturing the Katana Man, since he had the ability to regenerate, he couldn't die. Denji called Aki over and suggested they play a game. The rules were simple. Whoever makes the Katana Man scream louder wins. The name of the game, Real-Life Nutshots. At that moment, the Katana Man's screams echoed across the city. Meanwhile, Makima reported to the top government officials. The mastermind behind this terrorist attack was Akane. She had made a contract with the Gun Devil to distribute guns to the Yakuza. In return, Akane asked for the Chainsaw Devil's heart. Before anyone could ask why she needed that heart, the Snake Devil suddenly attacked Makima. Perhaps it was part of the contract. After the mission, they recovered 1 kilogram of Gun Devil fragments, plus 5 more kilograms already held by public safety. All of the fragments began to pull together, heading toward the Gun Devil's main body. And that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support Oni-chan in making more awesome content. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Love you all forever.